Show. I'm Miles Poole, along with head coach and the athletics director here at the college, Matt Ridge. We have a great show for you tonight. We're going to walk through some of the games since our last show, including the results of the just finished Region 10 tourney. And we'll also take a look at the upcoming national tournament in Danville, Illinois. And we've got a very special guest tonight, Dr. Jonathan Brown, DDCC's own Dr. Jonathan Brown will be our special guest. And we got a couple player interviews as well that will fit into this show. So a big one for you, Coach. Looking forward to getting this one kicked off here.
We got a special guest, and Dr. Brown, I appreciate him coming out tonight. And, of course, a lot of our players are in the house. Tristan, Manuel Teague, my man on the digital scoreboard came out tonight. So a lot of not just players, but support staff here, as well as Patrick over here. So appreciate you guys coming out.
Well, I'm going to brag on you to start the show. I always like to do that. 32-0 is where we sit after the tournament. You're ranked number 1 in the country since December 15th, I think. The only unbeaten D2 team in the JUCO ranks. I think Orange County was that way until they met Sullivan County in their tournament. So you guys stand alone as the only unbeaten team in Division II. You qualified for the NJCAA National Tournament. This is the 4th year in a row you guys have done that. Eight times in 16 years of the program. That's pretty special. You also were recognized. You let me know this, in College Basketball Times as a 12th ranked team in all levels of college basketball, as from a dominations ranking standpoint. Now, they do a lot of calculations to come up with that, your average margin of victory and things like your record, of course. Those are nice accolades. And we talk about how those are nice, but you always keep this team focused on what's ahead. But I get to brag on you guys.
Well, I appreciate that. And I will say this team has done an absolutely amazing job of staying the course, not getting a big head, because as soon as you think you've arrived and you get content, instead of staying humble, you'll get humbled by your next opponent. So it's all the credit to go to these young men that go out there and perform on game night, because it would be very easy for them when you're ranked number 1 for 12 straight weeks and everybody's patting you on the back and all that, blah, 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 to not be able to focus on the next day or the next day in the process. I think if you focus on the process, the wins will come. I've always said that. And this group of guys, has stayed humble throughout the year. They have not let the wins go to their head, and that's total credit to these guys. Now, with that being said, we want to base our pride on the future and continue to get better. And we know the toughest part of the season lies ahead, and we know there are no easy games in Danville, Illinois, so we're looking forward to flying back out there and hopefully having a good showing.
Well, we're going to highlight in the show the 7 games since our last coach's show, and 4 of those were as we wound down the regular season. You finished strong. We'll talk a little bit about those games. The first one was way back, February 18th against Bryant and Stratton, arguably the second best team in Region 10. At one time in the year, or many times in the year, they were in the top 20 ranked. But you beat them for the second time this season, 84-71. Big games from Jaheim Taylor. He had 22 points. 0 turnovers in that game, which is fantastic. Chase Mebane with 26 points and 8 rebounds. You jumped out to a big lead over the Bobcats, I think an 18-point lead at halftime, and they just couldn't overcome that. Talk a little bit about that quick start and the keys to victory over this really good Bryant and Stratton team.
Well, if my memory serves me correct, I think that was the game Jaheim hit 6 threes. But the bigger stat to me was the 0 turnovers. That's something that we've been really focusing on in all of our film sessions, really throughout the whole year, but especially here recently. Kevin Egan, one of our analytical stat guys on our staff. Well, look who's walking in the door, superstar L.J. Rogers from Lees McRae and Natalie. Thank you for coming out, L.J. and Natalie. But, Jaheim at times, he's got such great instincts and he can thread the needle, but sometimes he's gotten a little bit loose with that this year. And for him to go to Bryant Stratton and hit 6 threes, I think it was 6 of 8, phenomenal from the three and have 0 turnovers. That was a big reason we won that game going away like we did. And then, of course, Chase had, I think it was 26 and 8, obviously, typical Chase night. I mean, the young man leads the whole country in field goal percentage, and he needs more touches. I've been trying to emphasize that in film session and on the court in practice. When you're shooting 72, 73% from the field and you don't get him the ball, you're just not a very smart coach. So we got to find ways to continue to get Chase the ball. He leads the whole country in field goal percentage.
Well, the next game was against a non-conference opponent, but you guys play up. So you played at Division I, Gaston College. They came in here on a Monday night, actually. Tough D1 opponent as you wind the season down, a game that I guess next year you're going to go down there and play those guys. What were some of the things that you thought the team did well as they came away with a 91-64 win in this one?
Well, Gaston College passes the airport test. I mean, they walk out there, they're 6'10", they're 6'8", their wings are 6'5". You know, they're very, very long and athletic. And for us to go into that game, obviously, we had to really emphasize being physical and rebounding the basketball. I think we out-rebounded them by 13. I think it was 44-31. So that was big because that's the kind of size we're going to see in Danville. And the main reason I scheduled that game when it was to prepare us for the postseason. And I thought our guys really responded that night. Jaheim, I think, shot the ball well again. I think he had 23. Ray Bellamy off the bench had 11. Chase had 11, and Aaron Ross had a good game. I think he had around 10 points. So, you know, again, the most difficult teams to prepare for are the ones that are balanced. We shared the ball and put up 91 points against a very good defensive team in Gaston College.
Well, then you go back to conference play. Southwest Virginia comes to town that Friday, a game that we had to reschedule a couple times during the season. You beat them pretty good back in December, and this time, again, the outcome was the same, 145-78. Now, the Flying Eagles came into this ball game. They had lost like 17 of 18. Any worries going into the game that the team might say, this is a win already before, and maybe looking ahead to Lenoir or maybe even looking ahead to the tournament?
Well, a few things. Number one, a lot of those losses, they did not have their top 3 scorers all during the same game. I mean, one of the kids was from the Bahamas. He came back late from Christmas break. Another one of the kids got COVID, I believe. So they had some issues going on, inside their inner circle there during some of those losses. But they have one of the top scorers in our league. Number 0 could really flat out shoot it. Number 21 is probably one of the most athletic kids in our league. So they're a dangerous team, and the way we beat them the first time, it's easy for these kids to approach it a little bit differently mentally when you blow somebody out by 40 on their own court. So I was concerned going into the game, but once again, our kids did a phenomenal job of playing the game the right way, both sides of the ball. And what I was most impressed with was when we got them down, we did not take our foot off the gas pedal. We played everybody, I think, double-figure minutes that game, and we hit an amazing 24 threes in that game. I mean, we shot the ball well and put up 145 points.
Well, the next day, Lenoir comes here. And I'm sitting there watching the game, and before you know it, you guys are down 21-9 in that contest. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. They should have saved some of the points from yesterday, right? So you get down early, 21-9, but all of a sudden it just kicks in, and you guys go on a 50-8 run. And you lead at the break 59-39. Never look back, 113-84 win to end the regular season. What were the keys for you guys in this Lenoir comeback win?
Did you say the run was 50-8?
50-8.
Wow, I didn't realize that. Well, Lenoir peaked at the right time. I mean, you saw that in the postseason as well. Those kids at the end of the year, they gave everything they had. I mean, they had some big wins in the tournament. So, I mean, Lenoir, was one of the most improved teams late in the season. And they came in here and punched us in the mouth. But, again, our kids responded. They weathered that storm, and by halftime, we did go on that big run. And I thought it was a matter of time before, our pace of play usually over 40 minutes at some point, the number of kids we play, the type of shape we're in, helps us at some point go on a run. And I didn't realize it was 50-8. But, Ray, I think, came off the bench and had unbelievable energy in that game. I think he had close to 14 or 15 rebounds. Aaron Ross, who just walked in the door, I believe, had 12 rebounds in that game. So we had a lot of kids playing with tremendous energy that created some offense off of our defense. So, and we tell our kids all the time, we've got about 11, 12 guys that could start in most programs. And so a lot of these kids that come off the bench, they have a starter's mentality is what we tell them. They need to have that kind of swag between their ears. And I think they've shown this year we have legitimately 10, 11, 12 guys, maybe even all 13 that could start in most JUCOs.
Well, you finished the regular season undefeated, playing really, I thought some really strong team basketball down the stretch, which was really good to see, heading into tournament and postseason play. And I want to talk a little bit about that. So, doing a little bit of research, studies have shown that like 90% of coaches believe that their team's performance is crucially defined by momentum, right? The big momentum word. From your perspective, Coach, I'm interested in how you think about or how important that psychological momentum is when it comes to a player's performance or team performance.
So much success in athletics and life is between your ears. We believe that. Bobby Knight used to say when he was coaching, the mental is to the physical is 4 is to 1. It's 4 times more important in basketball specifically. And these kids are supremely confident because of how much they've invested in their preparation. That is something that's real, something they control. So in terms of momentum, I think a lot of that comes back to your confidence in yourself by the number of hours you've spent in the gym, in synergy, in your preparation, studying your basketball notebook. Anytime you don't get confidence from a teammate or a coach. True confidence comes from within because of your preparation that you've spent in the gym or maybe in the classroom studying for that calculus test and doing extra tutoring or whatever it is in life. But, these kids on this team, they are supremely confident because the amount of time they have invested outside of practice. Obviously, they come to practice every day, but they're on here shooting 1,000 shots on the gun. They're in, on synergy. Jarvis Tillman's ran almost every film session for me this year. He has to prepare for those film sessions. So I could keep going on and on and on. But the amount of time they spend preparing just to beat one opponent is exponentially high. And that's one of the things I'm most proud of is kids like L.J. Rogers who just walked through the door and they go on a full scholarship to get a free education. But they're not just going there. They're going there and playing. I mean, look at the success Javion Jones is having right up the road. MVP of the SAC tournament. LJ had a great year at Leeds McRae, and then Zai's leading Converse in scoring, and Tim had a great year at Greensboro. Jamarius starting at a Division I school, and we've got kids overseas playing professionally like Kyle Ridley. So it's the success they're having when they leave Davidson-Davie that's making me the most proud. And I mean that sincerely. So going back to your original question about momentum, again, obviously I think when we play in Brinkley Gym, our fans have a lot to do with the atmosphere and creating energy for our guys as a sixth man. But you'd be surprised. I mean, you've seen us play on the road, Miles. Our fans travel. Yeah. I mean, we had as many or more fans than any team in the regional tournament. And I've already got guys in this community that don't have any son affiliated with our team that have already bought a plane ticket to fly to Illinois. So we're so blessed here to have so many loyal fans that help create that Brinkley-type atmosphere when we play on the road, whether it be in Wilmington or Danville, Illinois.
You mentioned some of our former players. You mentioned LJ and Javion and Zai and Tim. The sad part for us is they do at some point leave, right? And it's great to see them have success and carry on with their life. They're always family. But this win over Lenoir to end the regular season, kind of an emotional day because you've got some sophomores that really played their last game on Brinkley floor here. How emotional was that for you? And talk about these 10 guys, if you would, for a minute.
Well, 3 of them chose to come back for a third year, and that's Jarvis, Tillman, Chase Medman, and Aaron Ross. Aaron Ross turned down a full scholarship to go to Winston-Salem State and play to come back for a third year, which is unique. The young man lost the state championship, just like I did as a former player, and now he's lost in the national championship twice. And in tears, he told me on that court, "Coach, I'm coming back to get your first national championship." So we're 4 games away from that, and I have a ton of respect for Aaron, and as well as I do as Jarvis and Chase. But those 3 guys are special for a lot of reasons. They've never lost in this gym over here. Neither has Jaheim or Keith or Faust, who's been here 2 years. Jalen King's been here 2 years, not back-to-back. But so there's, I believe, 7 guys that have been here 2 years, in some cases 3, that have invested a lot in our program. And I'm working my tail off behind the scenes to help get them a full scholarship. You know, we were talking before the show, Jaheim's up to 8 full rides right now. Keith just got a full scholarship yesterday. Chase has 3 or 4 scholarships, and these other guys are getting recruited. And then you got 3 other transfers. We have 10 sophomores. 3 other transfers. Ray Bellamy came here from Coker. Jordan McNeil transferred here from UNC Pembroke / Cape Fear, and then Elon from right down the road at Pfeiffer. And all these kids are getting recruited, all 10 of them at different levels. So it's hard to let them go after 2 years, in some cases 3. And that's the one thing that I probably like the least about coaching at this level. I would love more continuity in terms of having kids for 4 years, not just in terms of having that experience, obviously, but also you get attached to kids. I mean, I tell these kids, and I mean it, I'm going to miss them. I mean, it was really hard to let Javion, LJ, and Zai and Tim and all those guys go last year. But this year we got 10 we got to let walk out the door. And, you know, I love them to death with all my heart and soul. I coach them hard, but I also love them. And it's hard to see them move on, but that is what is next in their life and the progression of their life. And we want them to move on and get a free education and play at the highest level and get that free education. So I'm really proud of them. We do have unfinished business, obviously, but I'm proud of what they've accomplished thus far.
So be honest with me here. After the Lenore win, after the locker room celebration, at what point did you already start thinking about the tournament?
Honestly, probably about 5 minutes. Now, I have recently done a better job of trying to enjoy every win until about midnight. I'm very guilty of trying to prepare for the next game, but I have tried to force myself the last several years to enjoy every win. I do realize the older I get, it's very difficult to just win one game. I mean, especially when you've winning, and you're getting everybody's best shot. Your kids, you have to keep them humble. You know, you see it at every level. When you have a big win, the next game you'll have a letdown. It happens at every level. So to keep these kids this humble and win 32 in a row is not easy. But I do try to enjoy wins till about midnight and then start preparing for the next opponent. But it's not easy. That's not the way I'm wired naturally. I try to make sure we're always prepared for the next game because you're only as good as your next game. But it's phenomenal what they've accomplished thus far.
Well, your next game was quarterfinals in the tournament down at Cape Fear against Guilford Tech.
Yeah.
This is the third game against the Titans, and they played you close the last time they played you. But you guys came away with a really big 113-74 convincing win, I thought. What were your keys to the victory in this Guilford Tech matchup?
Well, number one, early on, they kind of came out and punched us in the mouth. We were not getting stops. Chase was scoring consistently, but we were not getting stops on the other end. But I thought over 40 minutes at some point our depth was really come into play, and it did. But Chase was amazing in that game. At halftime, he was 10 of 10 from the field, 22 points. I don't remember how many rebounds he had at halftime, but he was amazing in the first half. And that's the Chase Medman we need for 4 more games. Right, Chase? But, you know, J5, Jordan McNeil was amazing in that game as well. Jordan had 14 rebounds and 10 assists. That young man is a flat-out warrior. I saw him play at Lumberton High School about 4 years ago. He led them to the state finals. And, he's 6 foot or 6'1", but he plays so much bigger than that. He's a absolutely dog defensively, picks up full court man, denies. He is a winner. And if he was 6'5" or 6'6", he'd already be at a big-time 4-year school.
Well, yeah, Chase, I agree with you there. Chase also, like you were saying, I thought maybe one of his best games of the season, 30 points, 12 rebounds. He was 13 of 14 from the floor. I mean, that's phenomenal. 4-4 from the free throw line, that's crucial. And I know you inside out, when you're having so much success inside, what opportunities does that create for the rest of your team?
Well, I'm a firm believer in getting a lot of layups and threes in that order. They hear me say that all the time. But when Chase is getting the ball in the block and going to work and scoring around a bucket, it does open up stuff for our perimeter players because our opponent tends to help down on Chase a little bit more, in some cases double. And then you see all of a sudden Jalen King off the bench splashing threes as you saw in the district finals against Pitt. Jaheim, of course, is shooting the ball well. Aaron Ross is shooting the ball well recently. Of course, you got one of the best shooters in the entire country at this level in Elam Munez. And Fowles hit 3 threes in the first half against Pitt, I believe it was. We've got a lot of shooters. But again, if you just rely on the 3 ball, you're going to eventually have a problem probably. So we really want to emphasize focusing on playing inside out, layups and threes in that order.
Well, you face a very physical Catawba Valley team next in the semifinals, and winning this contest would move you to the final game and one step away of going back to that national tournament. How much pressure did your team feel in that semifinal contest against maybe one of the most dangerous teams in Region 10?
That word pressure to me is really non-existent. I know that sounds crazy, but pressure is self-inflicted. We control our own thoughts. We tell our kids all the time, if you are prepared, you just remember at the end of the day, this is a game. Go out there and play with confidence. You have the right to miss as long as you're taking great shots, and I think our kids did just that. We get to choose how we approach every game, and remember, it's just a game at the end of the day. There's millions of people in China that don't even know the game's going on. So go out there with no fear, play to win, do what you've done to this point, and that's what we plan on doing in Danville, Illinois.
So you guys won 97-73 the finals. It's you and Pitt. And that's a team that we talked about for the last couple of shows that may be one of the most dangerous teams in Region 10. I mean, I know their conference record was maybe 10-12 or 12-10, but they played some close ball games all year long. Played you guys close in the regular season twice, but you were able to beat them this third time, 85-71. Talk a little bit about the game, but also the fact that the Storm now has won 4 straight Region 10 tournament championships.
Well, number one, I think our depth really helped us. And going back to the semifinal game, which we were just talking about, I mean, Trey Fields, who's sitting right over here to your left, off the bench had 20 points, 10 rebounds against Catawba Valley. I mean, he arguably was one of our best players, if not our best that night. And that goes back to what I said earlier. We have about literally 13 guys that could start on most teams. I really believe that. My high school coach, who was a legendary Hall of Fame coach, Robert Kent, always said, you're only as good as your weakest link. Well, our weakest link is probably as good as just about any starter on a team we play. So we're blessed to have a lot of talented kids like Trey who come off the bench, Jalen King who came off the bench in the finals against Pitt and hit 4 threes in the first half. Jonathan Fowles, 3 threes in the first half. So I do think our depth at some point in most games, and certainly against Pitt in the finals, came into play. Our kids are confident. I mean, we hit 13 threes against Catawba Valley, and that was a big reason we advanced to the finals. I was super proud of how we weathered the storm against Pitt in the finals when we were down big early. We were down 13 points, and we go up. We're up 8 at halftime. Jaheim Taylor, arguably one of the best guards in the whole country at our level, only played 4 or 5 minutes because of foul trouble. Trey Fields was in foul trouble, who the night before was our best player. And we find a way with Jordan McNeil coming off the bench, running the show at the point, Zaire coming off the bench. And we're up 8 at half, and Jaheim has only played 4 or 5 minutes. Trey Fields, 4 or 5 minutes in the first half. So I told the kids at halftime, we're in great shape. I mean, we're getting ready to go in, and we're going to wear them down that second half. And we got, Jaheim's going to be back out on the court. Trey Fields is going to be back on the court. And that's exactly what happened. We went on a big run to start the second half. I think Jaheim hit a 3, and I think Aaron Ross hit a 3 to start the half. And that pushed the lead up to double digits, which is where it stayed the majority of the second half.
Yeah, that depth definitely helps you guys tremendously. Pitt, I think, used maybe an 8-man rotation for the games that I've seen them. So you guys going back to the national stage, how does that feel?
Feels good, and it'll feel a lot better if we win 4 more.
4 more. That's the motto. 4 more. Well, we're going to talk about that national tournament in a minute. We're going to make everybody wait just a little bit. We're going to take a break and bring up our special guest now, Dr. Jonathan Brown, going to come up to chat with us for a moment. And I want to remind you that we are following on Facebook. If you want to chime a question in for the coach, for Dr. Brown, for any of the players, do so. And we'll be following that here shortly. Lily Jackson says, hi, Coach, by the way.
Well, hello, Lily. And before he comes up, let me just say Dr. Brown is the man. He was the chair of the committee that hired me, so I took him out to lunch today. He is absolutely the man, the myth, the legend, the legendary Dr. Jonathan Brown.
Well, welcome, Dr. Brown. We appreciate you joining us again on the Matt Ridge Coaches Show. It's been a year or two, I think, since we last chatted. Can you just take a moment, remind our Storm fans how long you've been with DDCC and your role at the college?
So I've been here 2 years and currently serve as the Associate Vice President of Workforce and Community Engagement here at the college.
This is your second podcast today, I understand.
It is. Had a podcast earlier this morning about some workforce development with all the new companies that are coming into this area. So, trying to figure out how we're going to get all those people trained and, work with the businesses.
Are there any current initiatives? Talk a little bit about your job and your role first. Any current initiatives or programs that you're working on that you'd maybe like to share with our audience?
Sure. One I want to mention was yesterday we did a day of service for the college, which I think is a great thing. Where we go out to our community, our nonprofits, and we serve them that day. I was very fortunate to take a group out to the American Children's Home over here in Lexington, and we did a lot of mulching, pruning, painting doors. But I think that's just a great thing that we do here at the college because it is part of our goals and our values and our mission that we do give back to our community. As far as some initiatives we're working for in workforce development, right now we're currently in the middle of our recruiting for our apprenticeship program. So we have a great Davidson-Davie apprenticeship consortium, have 8 companies. We're really building that. It's just the way that a student comes in. It's a debt-free education. Their books are paid for. They're a full-time college student, but also they're an employee and they're earning money. And once they finish that program, they're guaranteed employment. And it is a win-win, and it is a great opportunity. So if you're listening and you know anybody that's getting ready to graduate high school and they were looking for a good job and a great education, please reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to assist in that.
We appreciate the work that you're doing and the work that the school does here. Not only this community college is so valuable for the community, surrounding communities, and for these student athletes, students. So just fantastic work. You came to the college really in the midst of the pandemic. Things have now changed a little bit, right?
They certainly have. It's nice that I go out and I have to look for parking spots, and the campus is moving, and then not everybody's at home. So I enjoy that face-to-face interaction with students.
Good to see things getting back to normal. Let's talk a little basketball.
Okay.
I want to get your take on some things. So since you come to the school here, the Storm are 88-6. They've lost only 6 games since you've been here. In program history, Dr. Brown, 428-80. That's over 84% winning percentage. What are your thoughts on this program and all that it's accomplished in its 16-year history?
It's phenomenal, but I do joke with Coach that those 6 losses are 6 too many. But we have a lot of candid conversations about basketball and life and our coaching philosophies. But I always tell him it's hard getting to the top. There's no doubt about it. But it's even harder to maintain. So when you look at what we have consistently done over the last 15, 16 years here, it's absolutely mind-blowing and phenomenal. And that's a credit to not only Coach, but our players, our community, everybody here at the college, because it takes all of us to get this done. And, what can you say more? I mean, the record speaks for itself. And, when you're having that much success, you always have the target on your back. So you have to bring your A game every night because you're playing Davidson-Davie. And that's a credit to our student athletes here because, again, they're going to get everybody's best punch every game.
Well, the last couple of years, they've come up a little bit short of winning that national championship. You've been there, right?
Yes,
you
sir.
went up to Danville. What's that experience like up there playing for that national title?
It's phenomenal, and it for me it kind of brings back my old coaching energy and juices, and gets me back into that frame of mind where just sitting there watching film session, being able to be with the players and hang out with Coach. It takes me back to a good period in my life that I enjoyed so much. But I will say they do a first-class job there in Danville. It's well organized. The community is just great. I mean, they really shut down the town for that week, and they cater to that basketball tournament, and it is top-notch.
What's the role that you've played the past 2 seasons at that tournament?
Anything Coach asked me to do, no. I think last couple of years, driving a little bit and, being in charge of study hall because, these guys got to go to class even though we're playing for a national championship. We'll change over our second 8 weeks. We'll start when we're there, so we got to make sure that they get logged into their courses and keep them eligible and make sure that they're doing their work, and because that's an important part of it. Yes, again, we're focused on winning a national championship, but we want them also to earn degrees here too.
I think that's the most important thing. Probably the biggest stage any of these guys have ever been on, right? How do they stay focused while they're there, but loose at the same time?
Sure, and I think a lot of it just, and Coach and I talked about this today at lunch, continue to what we've always done and what we've been doing, and that's led us to 32-0. At this point, why would we change anything? I from a coaching standpoint, players are going to feed off of how coach reacts, and if he's uptight and he's not loose, they're going to see that, and that's going to cause them to be uptight. So just doing what we've been doing because it's been highly successmal. Why would you change it at this point?
Yeah, still 2 20-minute halves, and
exactly
the same thing. It's a game. Let me ask you this, because I know you were there. How tough was it to be in that locker room after the final game last year and the year before?
Yeah, it's heartbreaking for the players because without a doubt, man, they put every ounce of energy into that, and I know they wanted to come home as a national champion. But it's also, once you're able to get back and reflect about it, it's a journey. It's something that you'll remember, for your lifetime, even though we may not have got, the 2 national championships. But just saying, hey, I was able to play in a national championship game. How many people can really say that? There's not a lot of people in this world. So you hope that the players that came back from last year, hope you remember that feeling. And I hope that sets in and that gives you a little bit more motivation here in the next couple of weeks.
2 things, Dr. Brown, that stand out to me and impress me the more I'm around this program is, number one, the support system that's in place for these players, not only from the school itself, from the faculty, but from the surrounding community. Just phenomenal. And then the players themselves. I mean, they're here tonight, and they're here every coach's show, and you get to see them play and chat with them, and all of them are well-spoken, really willing to listen, young men with high character. What are some things that stand out to you about this team?
Well, as you were saying, I have interactions with a lot of these guys throughout the day. See them in campus. Again, they're always, well-spoken. They represent our college in the best way possible. They're good people, and I think that's the most important thing. Being humble and being a good person. I say that, I have a teenage daughter, and I have to remind her all the time, just be a good person. If you're a good person, good things will always happen. So I'm proud of that, and, I want them to be successful academically too, because unfortunately, playing careers, they all have to come to an end, regardless if that's at the high school, college, or the professional level. They're going to end. So I've always said, regardless of if you're 5 years old or you're 45 and you're taking a class here at Davidson-Davie, when your education's over, you're going to need a career. So we hope to get them trained to be successful later on after their playing days.
Well, as someone who's been around and responsible for developing and providing educational environments for young men and women, most of your working career, are there things that these young student athletes have taught you?
Oh, absolutely. Patience, I'll tell you, is the first thing. When you deal with, and before I came to the college, and I spent my entire career at the high school level, so you learn to deal with patience and be patient with them. But I think what I enjoy the most is seeing our young adults grow into men and making that step and that progression in their life. It's so rewarding. And a lot of times I tell educators, you don't see it immediately, but the longer I am in education, I may be somewhere in town and I run into a student from 15 years ago, and they say something nice like, I appreciate you believing in me, or thanks for what you did, even though at the time I didn't think they really meant that. But it's just a great process, and it's one of the most satisfying jobs you can have, being in education.
Well, one final question for you. Being part of this tournament experience the last couple of years, are there any insights, things, maybe words of encouragement or advice you can give to this current team as they travel up to Danville?
Sure. I think number one, you got to stay focused on what's at hand, and you've got to really, as I say to Coach Ridge, stay out of your feelings for the next couple of weeks, because it's not about you, it's about us and in the team, and that's what's got us here at this point. And then more importantly, practice and prepare with a purpose. Right now we're in that lull where, but what are you doing in the next couple weeks to prepare yourself to go out there? Really count that film study. You've got to be locked in. When you're getting some reps in here, getting the shots up, you've got to practice your form. You got to do everything with the purpose. That way, as Coach mentioned, when you get out on the floor, it's just natural, because you have prepared yourself to make yourself successful.
Well, we appreciate your time. We appreciate what you do for these young student athletes, for this college, and also for the community, Dr. Brown. So
thank you.
Thank you so
Good
much. Good to see you. Hopefully next time we speak, we'll be talking about a national championship. Dr. Jonathan Brown, who's the Associate VP of Workforce and Community Development here at DDCC. Jordan McNeil going to step up and join us now. Welcome, Jordan. Jordan, a 6'1" guard out of Lumberton High School, logged a little time at UNC Pembroke and Cape Fear Community College, I think. I want to take you back to high school for a minute, if I can. So at Lumberton, you averaged almost 23 points a game, 5 assists, 8.4 rebounds. You left that program as the all-time leading scorer with more than 2,000 points. That's huge in your playing career there. You helped the Pirates to their first ever state championship final. That's first time in history. You were the team MVP. You were co-champs with North Mecklenburg due to COVID. After that great season, your final year, how disappointing was it not to be able to play in that championship game against North Mecklenburg?
I couldn't really be I was disappointed, but knowing I was still going to get a ring, but knowing I wasn't being able to play at a big-time UNC Chapel Hill court, that was really disappointing.
Well, you got to play at the D-Dome a little earlier this season, right? So you did get that. You signed with UNC Pembroke, I think, spent some time also at Cape Fear Community College, as we said before. And for the Sea Devils, you played 19 games, averaging 2.9 points a game. Talk a little bit about your experiences at UNC Pembroke and also Cape Fear. And then coming out of high school, those experiences, what are the differences between that and Davidson-Davie Community College?
My experience with UNCP was I was really at home. I felt like if I'd have went somewhere else at that time, I would have probably got homesick. So I really felt like I was still at home. So with Cape Fear, it was right down the road, maybe like an hour. It was by the beach. So, I felt like I was going to be at home. So I really didn't like it too much. So I had called Coach Ridge, and I was asking, I'm ready to be a part of a real family. I'm ready to compete. I'm ready to do what I do. So when I came here, it felt like I started feeling back the love of the game. So basically, all my brothers sitting here to the right and Coach, they made me do what I do. So I'm glad to be a part of the Storm.
Well, we're certainly glad that you're here. What's your relationship like with Coach Ridge and Coach Allen and Coach Tripp? Talk a little bit about that and maybe how they differ.
Coach Ridge, he's a funny, serious dude. I'm gonna put it like that. Outside the court, he's cool. But when we step up between those lines, And that's a good thing, though, but I like Coach Ridge. We got a good relationship. Coach Allen, I love Coach Allen to death when Coach Allen's Coach Allen. He can be hard at sometimes, but, yeah, I love Coach Allen. And Coach Tripp, you know, he played here before, so certain situations, he be putting his shoes in my shoes. So basically, he's been there for me. He's really a coach, but he's really my brother at the end. So I really appreciate all 3 coaches.
Who's the toughest?
Coach Ridge.
Okay. I knew you were going to say that. So you said you reached out after your experience at the other schools. Is that how you ended up choosing to come to DDCC, or were you recruited first?
I was recruited hard out of high school. I just felt like 2 hours and 15 minutes, woo. So I felt like it was going to be a long drive, and I knew I was going to get homesick if I'd have came here first year. So I ended up, I didn't feel like I was going to get homesick no more, so I ended up calling Coach Ridge, and now I'm here.
Well, from day one, what was the chemistry like? Did you know any of the players before you came here, by the way?
Yeah, I knew Najee. That's about it. Yeah, and I knew Jarvis too. I played against Jarvis.
But the chemistry worked pretty well as soon as you got here?
Yeah, we clicked pretty fast. We clicked pretty good.
Well, in the quarterfinal tournament last weekend, Coach Ridge mentioned it earlier against Guilford Tech. You led the team in rebounds. You had 14 rebounds, 10 assists, so a double-double in rebounds and assists. You don't always have to score the most points, right, to make a big impact to the team's success. If I asked you, Jordan, think about what are the strengths that you bring to this team?
I feel like my strength is bringing energy off the bench on the defensive side and turning it over to the offensive side. We got scorers like Jaheim and Chase. I feel like when we get stops and get them going, then we got a great chance of winning.
What do you enjoy most about playing with these guys?
That's a good question. I say I enjoy just being around the bottom with them, joking before practice, our group chats, everything outside of basketball. We still brothers, not just on side, not just on the court, but off the court, we still brothers. So I feel like it's home.
So you're looking forward to the next couple of weeks. You got 4 games left, right? 4 more games. You gotta come away with the national championship. I know you're excited about that, but what are your plans when that's over and you leave DDCC? What kind of plans do you have?
I'm gonna try to go into a 4-year, but if I don't, I'm gonna move on, get my business degree, and work for under my pops. So. And then, maybe 2-5 years, I'll take over what he's had done. So I feel like that's what, if I don't go the basketball route, that's what I'm going to do.
Well, you go win that national championship for us. We'll talk to you on April 6th at our next coaches show, and we appreciate all you bring to the table here for the team.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Jordan McNeil, J5 as Coach calls him. Nice job, Jordan. So we're going to do Zaire?
We're going to get Zaire.
All right, come on. Zaire Sims. See if they got any. Let's see what we got here. Dan True says McNeil has been impressive this year. Tough player, smart with the ball, and rebounds aggressively. Agree. Best all-around team I've seen in a long time. That's coming from Rocky Everhart. Zaire Sims with us now. Zaire, welcome. First time I've been able to chat with you, a freshman guard out of Jacksonville, Florida.
Yes, sir.
How was it moving up to North Carolina, to little Thomasville, Lexington area, North Carolina, from Jacksonville, Florida?
It wasn't easy at first. It was definitely a big culture change, but basketball every day kind of made it easy, so that's about it.
You played for, let me make sure I get this right, the Senators was your high school team, if I've got that right. You were a big scorer for your team. I mean, you averaged, let's see, 25, 26 points a game your senior season, I believe. You led the Senators to the playoffs for the first time in a long time for them. And I was reading a little bit about you. I got a question for you. You guys were playing a team called First Coast.
Yes, sir.
And you were losing by I don't know, dozen points with 6 minutes left, and you kind of took the team on your shoulders, ended up with a 35-point win. You took them to overtime. You won that game and then had a pretty deep run in the playoffs your final year. And I was looking at the box scores. I'm like, 35 points, 35 points, 35 points. It was like 4 out of 5 games in a row you scored 35 points. When you make that transition from that and you come here, you got a lot of talent on this ball team. How was that transition for you? How was that working out?
It was definitely a lot of stress. When you come from being a man to having to like play a role, it's not easy, but we was winning, and that was something I wasn't really used to so much. My senior year we was winning, but leading up to that point, it was I get mines and the rest of the team, they just there. So being here, like, it's definitely, I would say it's better. Like, of course, you know, you like the stats and the praise and all that, but I would rather win, you know, come out with something like a national championship ring rather than just being me.
Right. How did you choose to come to DDCC?
So I was at Claflin University last year, and they were terrible. And so the head coach, he got fired, but he had a good relationship with Coach Ridge. And so before I knew I wasn't going back there, he kind of like had an idea I wasn't. So he reached out to Coach Ridge, and then he was telling me, like, this is somebody you should like consider. Like, I don't think Claflin might be for you. They got a whole new coach. They moving in a different direction. I think this is the best fit for you. And so I came up to an open gym. It wasn't really my best performance, but before I left, Coach Ridge was like, I know that's not you, and I still want you to come here. And from that point on, like, I was set on coming here.
Well, as the season has progressed, you've got more playing time. We're seeing some real strong play from you. I mean, you had 14 points against Southwest Virginia. You had 6 points against GTCC, 9 points against Johnston. So we're seeing as you're getting that playing time, we're seeing a lot of productivity start to happen, which is great. There's a saying, you're working while you wait here. What have you been working on to get more playing time?
Definitely knocking down shots. It was a period of time in the season where I couldn't make a shot to save my life, but everybody kind of believed in me. You know, Jarvis, our team captain, Jaheim, they would always say, just play your game, just play your game. And so I think taking that to heart, I just come out here and have fun every day, and it shows on the court. Like, when I get out there, it's no pressure. I'm confident. Like, I'm just having fun.
This whole team is confident. I mean, you guys have undefeated, of course, but it's not been easy. I mean, you've played 9 games where, it's been 6 points or less. I mean, very close ball games. But you look at the team and what you were just saying. I mean, you look at them and you guys don't blink. I mean, you guys are strong in clutch situations. Why do you think that is? What gives you the confidence?
I think the trust we have in each other and just having fun. Even in those close games in the first half of the season, me and Najee will be on the bench, like, joking the whole time because we know the end result. And so I think just having that trust and our teammates, like, we know they're not going to let us down. And so we just go with that. And while we making these runs, coming back and stuff like that, we all on the bench, like, hype, turn. And they feed off that in the game. So somebody might come down, hit a 3, the whole bench go crazy. So now the next person who get a chance, they hit a 3 because they want that same type of, energy, and then it just build from there.
I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Jordan. What's it like playing for Coach Ridge and Coach Allen and Coach Tripp?
Not easy at all, but I feel like I would rather be nowhere else. I was kind of catered to a lot of my basketball career, and they don't do that, which is making me a better player. And so I think, especially going into next year, that will help me a lot.
Well, final question for you, Zaire. your expectations as you guys head off in a week or so to Danville?
Ring season, no other expectation. How we've been playing, how we've been practicing leading up to this tournament. I don't think no other team is preparing like us, so I don't see no other team beating us.
We'll go up there with the confidence that you guys have and bring it home.
Yes, sir.
Zaire Sims, thank you, sir. Nice job. Well spoken, both Jordan and Zaire. Appreciate you guys. All right, Coach. Dan Truey says, when Sims jumps, stops, and shoots, it's smooth and explosive. Hope to see him have more playing time in Danville. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate that. So, all right, as we mentioned earlier, you guys won your 4th straight Region 10 tournament, and you're going to be going back to the national title stage. 16 teams going to be participating in this thing up in Danville. One other team from Region 10 still might be able to make it. Tell the fans a little bit about how Pitt still has a chance.
So the winner of the regular season, if they didn't win the conference tournament, which was us, would have gone to Florida to play in the other district game because our region, along with the Florida teams, get 2 representatives to the Nationals. So since we won the regular season and the tournament, the runner-up in the tournament, which is Pitt, gets the right to go to Florida to play 1 game, which will be played this Saturday, 2 days from today, and the winner of that game will go to Danville, Illinois. There's only 3 D2 teams in Florida, so that's really not enough teams to have their own region per se. So that's why the winner of those 3 teams throughout the whole season gets the right to play one of our teams from our region, which is either the winner of our regular season, which was us if they don't win the tournament, or the runner-up in the tournament, which is Pitt.
So there could be a chance, like it was 4 years ago when you played Sandhills 4 times in a year, you could face Pitt again on the national tournament stage for a 4th time.
In the scenario they win Saturday, they'll be in the tournament. And, depending on if the national office puts us on the same side of the bracket, that could happen. If they put it in the other side of the bracket, the only way we can meet potentially would be in the national finals.
Yep. Well, we mentioned Orange County in the show a little bit earlier, and they kind of got into the tournament this year. The way you were just talking, they lost in their conference tournament, but they won the play-in game.
Right.
So they're in. You guys are in, and then I think there's one other team, maybe Niagara County's in. Mm-hmm. The rest of the field has not been decided yet. Over the course of the next week, that's going to be decided.
Yep.
When will we find out the bracket?
Tuesday at 2 o'clock. March 14th, the selection show will be aired on the NJ Network. We'll have a watch party here on our campus. Our community is welcome to come out to that. It'll be in the first floor of the conference center, right there when you first walk into the right. The room on your right is a big auditorium room. So 2 o'clock on Tuesday, March 14th, that will be aired on the NJ Network. And, again, we'll have that as an option for our community to come out and watch and kind of celebrate. Hopefully we have a high seed, which we'll find out next Tuesday at 2 o'clock.
Hopefully you'll get the number 1 seed. Next year, 24 teams get to play in the D2s, or is it 2 years from now?
It's 20 teams. There'll be
20 teams.
four at-large berths next year, so the Division II field will be 20 teams starting next year.
Did you guys as coaches have any input in that? I know people have been saying we need to expand.
I think that was an ongoing discussion at the national level for years and years. And last year, the South Suburban coach said, look, we won the national championship, but we won our district game by 1 point. And if we wouldn't have won that game, we would have never even made it to the national tournament. So I think there's a lot of factors, one of which the Division II level is the only level in JUCO in men's basketball that does not have any at-large berths. D3 has 4 at-large berths, and I believe D1 has 8 at-large berths. I think it's 8. So, D2 is going to join that party, so to speak, next year.
Well, I know this is a new team this year, but the program's been to the national stage the last couple of years in a row, to the finals the last 2 years in a row. Does that give you guys any kind of advantage, you think, maybe?
I think so on some levels, but at the end of the day, you still got to play the games. And the thing that I think gives this team more of an advantage than anything other than the experience from these guys, these 6 returners, is the fact that they're so together. Like, this team's chemistry is ridiculously amazing. There is no issues off the court right now. And for us not to have any guys complaining about playing time or any kind of off-the-court distractions, I mean, that's a big reason why we're 32-0 in my opinion. And that's a total credit to these 13 young men and the red shirts. They have one goal. It's not about me. It's about we. The name on the front, not the back of the jersey, so to speak. They play for each other. They care about each other's well-being. And like Zaire just said, and if you watch that young man's enthusiasm on the bench, you'll see what he's talking about. When somebody scores and Zaire's not in the game, he's one of the first guys up celebrating on that bench. And that attitude and that energy is so contagious. And I have respect them. I've told the guys throughout the year, the men on the bench are the foundation, the reason why we're winning a lot of games. But the guys like Zaire that don't play as much as he really wants, he's just as happy for his brothers having success in the game than him. And there's been some games this year where Zaire's came off the bench and we wouldn't have won the game. At Guilford Tech, where we barely won, Zaire Sims came in the game in the second half and had a lot of big-time plays. So he's a perfect example of a young man that's worked while he's waited for his opportunity, and he continues to get better and better. And who knows what kind of year he's going to have next year. I'm excited about that. But Zaire is so humble. He's about the we and not the me.
Well, I know we're still a week or so away from action, but I'm sure you've already started to prepare your team. What are some things that you guys are doing right now to get ready for that tourney?
Well, this week we've had shorter practices. We've got a lot of shots up. There's only 2 teams other than us that's made the field, so obviously we're spending time on synergy, drawing up their plays, typing up scout reports. But the real work will begin Saturday night Saturday night once the teams will be done qualifying for the tournament. That should be done this Saturday evening or maybe Sunday at the latest. And then, of course, Tuesday the field will be set and the pairings will be matched up during the selection show. But we should know Saturday night or Sunday sometime all 6 teams that are in, so we can really start working as coaches. Our staff will spend countless hours preparing for every team, probably 8 to 10 hours per team. And when you multiply by 15 teams, that's a lot of time. So a lot of sleep, a lot of nights where we don't sleep a whole lot, to be honest with you.
So as you head off to Danville, what does that week look like? What does your schedule look like for you guys when you're traveling, and what are your practice plans here?
Well, to be honest with you, for my staff, it's a deep breath because from next Tuesday to Sunday, those 5-6 nights, we'll spend 8 hours, 10 hours per team because we type up a scout report. We watch at least 3 to 4 games on every team and then draw up their plays, run copies. So no matter who we play those 4 games, we can go right to that film session, and I'm prepared because I'm all about preparation. We expect our guys to be well prepared. Our staff has to outwork every staff. So when we get on that plane, a lot of our work is already done. Now, obviously, when we get out there, we'll have film session, we'll have meetings, et cetera, et cetera. But once we get out there late Sunday, we'll go eat, we'll have a little downtime. Monday morning, we'll have at some point a 30-minute shoot-around at the facility where we play. I'll have a coaches meeting along with Coach Allen will go with me. Coach Tripp will stay back with the guys at our hotel. And that evening, we have a super nice banquet, which we haven't been able to have the last 2 years, but due to COVID. But they're bringing that back this year, so I'm excited about that for our kids to get to experience that. And then, of course, Tuesday on the 21st, we'll play hopefully at some point that day.
Well, we're looking forward to the selection show next week, so we're excited to see where you guys land in the bracket and who the competition is. And watching that tournament's going to be a lot of fun. And we know you guys will go up there and make DDCC proud as you always do. We've got a lot left in this program, but I think we're out of time. You probably got a game you want to check on in a little bit too.
It's halftime.
I'm sure as you've already been checking on it. I do want to give some of the player call-outs here if we could.
Absolutely.
You've had some members of the current Storm team that have received some Region 10 all-region honors. If you would call those guys out, it'd be nice.
So we have 3 players that were recognized by a reason. We had 2 guys on the first team. Chase Mebane was a first-team all-region player. And then Jaheim Taylor were also voted to the first team. There's only 5 kids in the entire region voted to the first team. So for us to have 2 kids on that first team shows you the amount of respect. And, we're so balanced, Miles. I mean, our team, we got 8 guys averaging between 7 and 15 points. So it's hard when you've got that kind of balance sometimes for coaches to vote for your kids when you have other kids on other teams averaging 23, 24, 25 points a game. But again, I think out of respect for our program and the fact that we are 32-0, we were the only team in Region 10 to have 2 guys on the first team. And then Jalen King, who was our leading scorer for a big part of the season, was voted to the All-Region Team honorable mention.
Well, one other thing that I think is we've highlighted of this program so many times, and that's the importance of excellence in the classroom, right? It's more about, it's not just what's going on the court. Excellence in the classroom. Dr. Brown spoke about it also. This week, the NJCAA Region 10 Fall All-Academic Team was announced, and you had 11 players on that list. You want to highlight those for us?
Well, 11 out of 18 players. That's a high percentage for a 4-year school, much less at a junior college. So, and if you looked at golf and volleyball as well, I'm speaking now from an athletic director, not as a coach. I'm so proud of our student athletes this fall semester. They killed it in the classroom. All 3 teams really, really, really did well. So couldn't be prouder of their excellence off the court, not just on the court.
Okay. Jonathan Faust, Aaron Ross, Chase Mevin, Keith Reese Jr., Alex Reese, Najee Stroman, Jaheim Taylor, Elam Muniz, Zach Murphy, E-Money English, Ethan E-Money English, and Zaire Sims getting that. So
we didn't tell you Zaire's nickname, did we, guys?
No, what was Zaire's nickname?
Zaire, you want to tell him your nickname? Sleaze. I don't know. How'd you get that nickname? Was it a former girlfriend or something? Is that right? I'm not sure how he got that. But anyways, all these guys got nicknames. Aaron Ross is 94 feet because he's so good at picking up 94 feet. I'll stop there for right now, but they've probably got a few nicknames for me that I don't know about.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. I want to thank you, though, Coach, and we want to thank our special guest, Dr. Jonathan Brown, and all these guys over here. We'll find out what that nickname is later. Jared Bowman, you got Brandon Mullis, Tristan Wells, always helping us out, and our sponsors and the amazing Storm fans and supporters.
Before we go off air,
Yep.
I know this is kind of a curveball last-minute thing, but there's a young man that drove a long ways to be here.
LJ Rogers.
And he's really special to me. Really special for a lot of reasons. So let's get LJ up here, guys. Come on.
Come on, LJ. LJ, you made the long drive to town. We appreciate you coming by. Season with the Bobcats, Lees McCray, over. But you guys had a 13-16 year. I think you were 9-11 in conference, and I was watching you, following your the box scores as you went through the season. You got more playing time as the season went along. You ended up averaging 4.3 points a game in your first year there. How was the transition from going from DDCC up to Lees McCray?
I struggled in the beginning, just finding my groove. My coach will tell you I struggled just being me. I was going in there, just trying to sacrifice who I was just to win games instead of actually being me, which ultimately helped us win games in the future.
So you still though follow what's going on here, and I've seen you come back to the gym a few times to watch some of the games. What do you think about this team?
Me and JV, we talk a whole lot about this team. We think they got a good chance to win it all. We just think they should cut down on turnovers, aka Jaheim, and just lock up and play a full 40. That's what I really think they should do. Play a full 40.
So for the 2 years of the championship chase, the last 2 years, you were a big part of that, right? And you were on that stage for 2 years and came very, very close. What kind of advice could you give to these guys as they travel up there to try to get it in the third year?
I would just say don't take it for granted. It goes by quick. I remember it like it was yesterday. Just play hard, just play to the final whistle. Like I said, play a full 40 minutes, and I think they'll be successful.
You left here after 3 years. You played 3 years here. You had a chance to leave after the 2 years, but you decided to come back. You and several others. Why is that? What's the reason you came back to finish that third year out here? It's more than about a championship, I'm sure.
Moving on is hard. I don't really like change. I built such a good relationship, not only with Coach Ridge, but with everybody in the community and the team. And I didn't want to do anything else. If this was a 4-year, that would have made everything so much easier. But we did want to get Ridge a championship. I hate that we couldn't do it, but they'll do it this year.
I believe you 100% there. Your coaches at Lees McRae, how different are they than Coach Ridge and Coach Allen were here?
I don't think you'll ever meet anybody as passionate about the game as Coach Ridge is. Him and Coach Harden, they kind of favor each other. They say some of the same things. But, nobody's ever going to match up to Coach Allen.
He's not here tonight to defend himself. Next year, you going back to Lees McRae?
Sir.
So you're going to finish out your school there, finish out your program. What kind of team do you think you guys will have next year?
I think we'll have a pretty good team. We should be competing to win Conference Carolina and make a national run. Going to try to switch some things up and play more of, my style basketball and a couple other guys on the team, so it should be fun.
Did you guys play Converse this year?
Yeah.
How was it playing against Zai? You guys played together for a year. How was it playing against him?
It was fun. We're competitors on the court, but off the court, that's my brother. Actually, one time I caught myself almost helping him up before helping my own teammate up. So, but no, it was fun. Every time I checked in and he was in, I guarded him the whole time. So it was fun. I definitely live for moments like that.
Well, LJ, we appreciate you coming and being part of the show. This is family for you here, right?
Sir.
We appreciate you a lot. You're a well-spoken young man and wish you all the best of luck next year at Lees McRae and in your future.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. LJ Rogers, give him a big hand. All right, Coach, I'm going to give you the final word.
Well, I just want to thank you, Miles, and Coach Mullis, and, of course, Jared over here, making these coaches shows happen all year. Hopefully in a few more weeks we'll have a final one, and we'll have some hardware to put on the coaches show. I'd like to thank everybody else coming out tonight, former players over there, all kinds of random people in our community that support us in a lot of different ways. Manuel, Natalie, who was a manager here for 5 years. Just so blessed to have so many people, like Dr. Brown said, make our family who we are. So thank you, Miles, for everything.
Appreciate you. Good luck, guys. March 21st, first game in the national tournament. We'll be watching, pulling for you guys. And our next coaches show going to be Thursday, April 6th, right here at Brinkley Gym. And hopefully we'll be back here celebrating the national championship.
Go Storm.
Go Storm.